So it is very hard to believe that Holocaust denial still exists in our world. It is even harder to believe that Holocaust denial exists in our own country, not just amongst those who are less educated, that may even be forgiven for their lack of knowledge, but Holocaust denial exists among some who are highly educated, who hold positions of leadership in the cultural arts, in business, even in government. And so it's incumbent upon us each year to not only remember those who perished in the Holocaust, but to remind the world that this must never happen again. And so we observe the holiday of Yom HaShoah each year, Holocaust Remembrance Day, which fell this past Wednesday evening. And I want to thank once again Rabbi Harper for leading an educational program on Wednesday. And on Shabbat, I want us as a community to acknowledge one of the steps that our community took many, many years ago to acknowledge the Holocaust and encourage us with a reminder to continually remember it and pass those memories and that knowledge to our children so that they may too remind the world that this must never happen again. And it was the year 1973 at Temple Beth Elohim when members of the congregation led by the rabbi, Herman Blumberg, who is at Newbridge, I believe, to this day. So many of you may have met Herman, not as Rabbi Blumberg of TBE or at Shir Tikva, but at Newbridge, who went to the airport with members of our congregation to receive a Torah scroll that now resides in our ark. This was a Torah scroll from a small town in the Czech Republic called Rakovník. It was a town 35 miles west of Prague. And it was a town that had it's a small town, but it had a Jewish presence for over 500 years, which is pretty extraordinary if we think of our country, that 500 years of a Jewish presence were to exist. But it did in Rakovník. And they had a synagogue. Actually, the first slide, this was the synagogue. It's hard to see. It's unbelievable that we have a picture, because the whole town was destroyed by the Nazis and all of the Jewish institutions. The synagogue and the Jewish school as well. In that synagogue, in their ark, there were 10 Torah scrolls. So we have 4 in our large ark. They had 10. And when the Nazis destroyed the town, as many of you know, they preserved some of the religious articles that they had hoped they would one day display in a museum of Nazi pride, a museum of the reminders of a destroyed people, the Jewish people. And so they saved those Torah scrolls in a basement. And when the Russians took over, they kept those scrolls in the basement, not because they had really any desire to preserve the scrolls for any good reason, but that they were in the basement, and anything the Nazis did that they thought was important, and they thought these Torah scrolls were actually important. The Russians typically, when they moved in, they negated everything the Nazis wanted, and they just ignored these Torah scrolls until a synagogue in Great Britain purchased them. And they purchased, I actually wrote it down, a number of scrolls. They purchased, I don't have it in front of me, but I think it was over 1,600. All I know is that in 1973, we received Torah scroll 832. And every year we get a letter from Westminster Synagogue in London that says, This is still on loan. This does not belong to Temple Beth Elohim. But we're happy for you to have it. How do you utilize the scroll? And I also give a small contribution to the upkeep of the Czech Torah scrolls that are held there. And we do use this scroll at times, but we haven't taken it out of the Ark on a Friday night for a long time. So we thought tonight we would take the scroll and use the liturgy that was recited at Temple Beth Elohim in 1973, which I'm starting to gather the archival material of our congregation. So for those who are looking for non-gender language, they did not know what that was in 1973, or at least didn't choose to practice it when they welcomed the scroll. So I apologize for the dated language, but I wanted you to see the language for that reason. How many years have, and the changes that have taken place, and yet the core of our values remain. So let us all rise as we receive the scroll from the Ark. We can join together as we recite these words that are spoken during the Torah service.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
And as we say in the Torah service,
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo.
and let's read together these words from Temple Beth Elohim, 1973. This day we receive from our brethren, the Jews of Rekovnik, the scroll of the law.
They are no more. Their Sefer Torah now lives with us. How many have stood in homage?
How many lips have kissed it? How many arms have embraced it in joy? How many hearts have been inspired by it? How many eyes have looked to it for comfort, hope? We remember now the pious scribe who formed sacred letters in reverence, and readers articulating each holy word in response to a command. This moment, every lad who trembled before its lines as he became bar mitzvah stands with us. Every bridegroom proudly declaring Torah's praises is part of us. The young, eager to glimpse its beauty, are our young, and we are the children of all who strain to hear its song. Now we remember the minds that sought to destroy it, minds that mocked its spirit, hands that desecrated its body. Now we memorial lives martyred before it, souls scorched in the flames surrounding it. We receive the Sefer Torah from the Jews of Rekovnik as an act of kinship with them, as an act of defiance before those who would blot out their names and ours, as an act of unity with fellow Jews who died in sanctification of God's name, as an act of belonging with brethren Jews who this day suffer cruelty, indignity, and bondage, as an act of faith before our children, as an act of love before God. May we receive this sacred scroll in humility and with gratitude. May we hear its message and perceive its meaning always. And let's all be seated. And this scroll, once again, was from the Czech Republic, where also Teresian once stood. And so we thought it would be most appropriate to hear a song of memory of that period of a community that once lived, and our responsibility to continue the values that it held so dear and to embrace them and pass them on to the next generation. And so, Cantor Zell.
This is a song written by Ilse Weber. For those of us who joined us on Wednesday evening for our Yom HaShoah commemoration, or who joined me for a class on the music of the Shoah, have learned a little bit about her, that she was born in 1903, and that she ultimately was deported to a camp where she served as a nurse and cared for the infirmed, and wrote over 60 poems and songs, of which she would often sing to the children of the camp. And as she and her youngest son and many children were brought to the gas chambers, she sang these words. Vigala, vigala, Weihe, der Wind spielt auf der Laer, spielt so süß im grünen Ried, die Nachtigall, die singt Lied. Vigala, vigala, Weihe, der Wind spielt auf der Laer. Vigala, vigala, Verne, der Mond ist die Laterne, steht am dunklen Himmel stellt und schaut hernieder auf die Welt. Vigala, vigala, Verne, der Mond ist die Laterne. Vigala, vigala, Wille, wie ist die Welt so stille, es stört kein Laut, die süße Ruhe. Schlaf, mein Kindchen, schlaf auch du. Vigala, vigala, Wille, wie ist die Welt so stille? Wie ist die Welt so stille?
Before we continue, I was thinking what a beautiful melody that is. And then I heard the sounds of a child. I was like, that's disturbing. And then I thought, wait a minute, this song is supposed to have 50 crying children underneath, because this is what this song is about. This was the lullaby of when kids were shrieking and parents didn't know what to do and people were yelling. And to hear that sound, I just thought was incredibly powerful. We bring a beauty to what we do, but we can't forget the horror of the past as well. And it's that delicate balance of remembering the pain and yet filling life up with great beauty. So may we do it for many, many years. This Torah scroll has been in our midst now for 51.5 years. Was anyone at Temple Beth Elohim on Yom Kippur when they read that liturgy 51 years ago. Marilyn, I won't ask how old you were. But I'm sure your parents as well have memories. 1973, Yom Kippur. So God willing, many more years will be shared here.